I'm going to be honest with you. Sega might as well be the next THQ, the next Atari, the next Midway, the next Acclaim, or in other words, the next poster child for irrelevant gaming publishers that are somehow still around. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Sega themselves haven't really done anything big in a while. I mean, not everything Sega has done recently has been bad. I mean, I've heard some good things about their new real-time strategy games and Alien Isolation, but at the same time, many of their other game series are either crap or not being brought to America. For example, the whole disaster that was known as Sonic Boom. And Sonic Boom, let me make it short, it was not only a sales disaster, but the Wii U Sonic Boom game was such a stinker that it essentially replaced Sonic 06 when many Sonic fans were talking about worst Sonic games ever. In fact, Sonic Boom comes up a lot when people talk about worst Sonic games ever. I mean, the 3DS game was better, much better, but the thing is, nobody really talks about the Sonic portable games anyway, and Sonic Boom for the Wii U was such a bad game, and it left such a bad impact on the franchise that not only did Sega end up firing a lot of people, but Sega's actually having to downsize their whole US operations. And at the same time, Phantasy Star Online 2 is pretty much vaporware in the US. I mean, it's out in Japan. You can go play it if you use like a proxy server or something like that. But if you don't do that, you can't play Phantasy Star Online 2 because it's not out in America yet, and it probably won't be. Other games like Valkyria Chronicles 3 are not being localized for the American audience despite the first one coming to Steam and actually selling a reasonable amount, while Yazuka 5, on the other hand, is only being localized in America thanks to Sony. I mean, honestly, the only good developers Sega has now are Atlas, who are pretty much a separate company that Sega bought, and all the real-time strategy game developers. At this point, Sega is really just another publishing brand. They really don't have any identity of their own, and even though they want to play with the big boys such as EA and Ubisoft and Activision, their sales are nowhere near that ballpark. And considering how all Sega really has at this point is nostalgia and their real-time strategy developers, and those are just keeping them up just a little bit, especially considering how the Sonic series took a major hit with Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. Is it any wonder that Sega is not going to be at this year's E3? They're not even going to have their own booth or show. All they're going to do is maybe show off some of their games like the new Total War at maybe a PC, like let's just say vendor booth. So maybe you'll see them at an AMD or Nvidia booth, or a Microsoft or Sony booth. But you probably won't see them at their own booth because they won't have their own booth at E3. That's all that really needs to be said. Sega is so irrelevant that they're not even coming with their own little booth at E3. They're not, because they don't have anything anymore. And let's not forget the whole relocation thing where they fired a lot of people, including the person who was in charge of the Sonic Boom project. So yeah, Sega's pretty irrelevant nowadays, and that's all I needed to say. And it didn't matter if they changed Sonic's arm color or not. That is all I have to say. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more.